Okay, agreement. Agreement is when we have two words that correspond to each other and they have to agree. Okay, there are 3 pairs of agreements that you will be tested on. The first one is nouns and verbs. You have to make sure that verbs match nouns. Okay, so like plural, singular, stuff like that. Okay, who's doing it? Is it you or is it me? Okay. They love to separate the noun from the verb. So look at this sentence. The cake, as well as 50 birthday candles, is or are arriving soon. So here's the issue with this. If you just go off a sound, it sounds like it should be candles are, right? Candles is plural and are is the correct conjugation for something plural. But as you can see here, as well as 50 birthday candles has been offset in commas, which means it's not part of the independent clause, okay? The clause that makes up the cake and the verb. So they have done something kind of tricky here. It sounds like one thing, but it's actually another, okay? So the independent clause of this sentence is the cake is arriving soon. So when you're dealing with this, if you have a comma there, you know something's been offset, okay? It's like you can remove it, okay? You're never going to put a noun, comma, and then a verb, okay? So if there's a comma there, it's not separating the noun from the verb, okay? This is a terrible sentence. Obviously, you should say the birthday cake and candles are arriving soon, obviously. But you have been taught to write well in high school. The test will do the technically correct way to write badly, okay? All right, and that's spicy, right? Spicy is, of course, when someone who knows the content might still get it wrong. Okay, spicy is the reason you miss. That's not, I need to go look something up, right? Like, I gotcha, okay? It's a situation, okay? The cake, as well as 50 birthday candles, is arriving soon. They will try to trick you on this several times, okay? Ownership and owned. While most people understand how to denote ownership with an apostrophe S, the fact that we use the S sound to denote other things like plurality is also spicy. I don't know why. We have so many sounds, we use S at the end to denote several things. So it can mean I own something, it can mean plural, it can even be a tense, it can literally just be how the word is spelled. There's a lot of reasons we have S at the end of words. This can get spicy, okay? Which of the following is correct? Cliff's edges, cliff's edges, cliff's edges, or cliff's edges. These are all homophones, right? But they're all spelled a little different, aren't they? Punctuated a little different. So we can't trust our ear here. We wouldn't know it's right. So you have to look. So this is clearly something you can't trust your ear on. Now, I have found that when they are testing apostrophe S, they like to mix things up a little bit more. So I know Cliff's edges. So they love to do stuff like they're testing you on the S sound, right? And they've got more than one use of the S sound here. But also there's usually some sort of element like, what is plurality in the first place? Like, where does one cliff end and the other begin? I've seen it in oceans before too. So like, where does one ocean, is there one ocean or are there 7 oceans, right? So what they're doing is they're trying to push you into an anxiety state. So you'll be like, okay, it's cliff's edges. So instead of just thinking, let me get my apostrophe S and my plurality right, you're just like, do I even know what plurality is in this situation? You go into this like, they love to do that. They love to push you into a little bit more of a spicy situation. This happens a lot. So when you are being tested on this, notice more often than not, it's going to be something that a reasonable person might wonder, oh wait, do I know this? Okay. They're trying to get you. Okay. So cliffs and edges are difficult to quantify. The sound S is being used in 2 different ways. So this is spicy. Obviously it's A. Cliff's edges is punctuated correctly, okay? The test also likes to use 3 correct ways of doing something to test you. Now, I have noticed on the SAT lately, instead of doing like, which of the following is incorrect, they might do something like, Which of the following cannot be used to replace the underlined? I've noticed that they do that more often than the SAT, which is probably good because then you don't get caught up in the no change situation. We'll talk about the no change situation later, but a lot of times with no change, people tend to be more biased for or against the no change than they are for everything else, and that can kind of get into their head. So that's good, okay? But on the ACT, it's usually which of the following is incorrect. So we got Francis's Corner and Francis's Corner. So actually, those are both correct. If you have a word that ends in S, like plurality or the name Francis, apostrophe S or just apostrophe are both correct. We haven't decided. Like as English speakers, we haven't settled on one of them. Okay. We can also use another name for Francis, which is her nickname, Baby, Baby's Corner. We can use a possessive pronoun, her corner, but we can't be wrong. Okay, so Francis's Corner without an apostrophe or an apostrophe S is incorrect. So there was 3 correct ways of doing something and 1 incorrect way of doing something. So that happens a lot on possession because we can do the possessive pronoun or we can do the actual noun with an apostrophe S. All right? Why is it spicy? Francis is the name that ends in S, introducing a third homophone sound. They're actually, okay, I already said that. Possessive pronouns don't get an apostrophe S, which is also confusing. Many students don't read all the following are correct except. So this was a spicy question. If I were to review this question with students, a lot of times, and you know how I ask you guys to ask yourself why you got something wrong? Only some people, there's going to be a lot of people who get this question wrong who are going to say, I don't know the academic content. I need to go learn something. A lot of people get this wrong even if they know everything I just said. That's spicy, okay? So just think about that. So get into the habit of why would someone miss this question even if they knew the academic content? When you start looking at it that way, you start looking at it like I look at it, and you're going to be able to see potential pitfalls the more you do that. Okay. We also need to have antecedents and pronouns agree with each other. Okay. And a lot of times you're going to have to use context clues to make sure the antecedent agrees with the pronoun. Okay. So the author, that's the antecedent in this first case, typed away at his typewriter all night, but had to stop because he or it became tired. Okay. So you're going to use context clues. Because it said tired, we know the antecedent is a being, an object that can tire, so the author. But if it ran out of ink, it's the typewriter that actually runs out of ink. Okay? So we're going to use context clues to match the pronoun to the antecedent. Okay? By the way, if you're going to do the second reference, you're going to use a pronoun. The third reference, you can use the word self. Don't worry about this. I've never seen a correctly done it versus itself or something like that. So I've seen, you get like himself or herself tested, but it's usually going to be like the difference between himself or themself. It's usually going to be something else. I've never seen correctly done self with a correctly done pronouns. You have to pick which one's better between no self and self. That's not a thing that I've seen. Just letting you know that it's going to be the third time. Okay? In the present tense, nouns and verbs, ownership and pronouns have several homophones. So let's go over those. We have the subject pronouns. I, you, we, they, he, she, it, and who. Now I put who here. I put it in the third party section because that's most of the time you're going to see who on this test. But who can be the unknown pronoun for anyone. So it could be who am I, who are you, who are we, so on and so on. Okay. Also, it's not always going to function as the unknown pronoun. Sometimes who, what, where, and which oftentimes function as the unknown pronoun, can actually function in a place where you tell more information about something that is known. So if I were to say, he was hired to work at Northwestern University where he got his master's degree. Okay, so as you say, I said where to give you more information about Northwestern, but that's not the unknown place. Okay, so that can occur. I'm just putting a little asterisk here because it's not always going to be the unknown pronoun. Okay, But in this case, I want to do it because we have some homophones and we need to talk about whom. All right? Okay, so we have the most common verb in the English language, which is to be. We can conjugate in the present tense. I am, you are, we are, they are, he is, she is, it is, and who is. We can contract this. When you contract, you've dropped the vowel sound of the verb. Okay, we contract officially 3 verbs: to be, to have, and will. I don't think you use it to will. Anyways, you drop the vowel sound. So if it's will, it's W-I. If it's have, it's H-A. Okay? So we contract it to I'm, your, we're, their, he, she's, its, and whose. We also have the subject ownership pronoun. My cup, your cup, our cup, their cup, his cup, her cup, its cup, and whose cup. We also have the object pronoun. So this is when the pronoun is the object of the sentence. I love you, but you love me. See how that works? You love you love you. For some reason, you and you don't change from subject to object. We love you love us. They love you love them. He loves you love him. She loves you love her. It loves you love it. For some reason, it also doesn't change from subject to object. Who loves you? You love whom? And that's when you use whom, when it's the object of the sentence, okay? We also have the object ownership, okay? The cup is mine. The cup is yours. The cup is ours. The cup is theirs. The cup is his. The cup is hers. The cup is its. And the cup is whose, okay? Here's the tip, all right? If you're confused at all by the homophones, you can check with the he form. We do have a homophone in the he form, but it doesn't ever get confusing, okay? So your ear may not be able to tell the difference between its and its, and you might have a hard time with who and whom, but your ear does know it if it was the he form, okay? So let's say it was the cup belonged to who or whom, and you don't know. So don't check with whom you don't know. Check with he and him. Okay, so you can see he is in the same column as who. Him is in the same column as whom. So these are the same place. So the cup belonged to he. Well, that sounds wrong. The cup belonged to him. That sounds right. You don't even have to memorize object, subject, and object. You just check he and him. If it sounds right to substitute he in, you're going to use who. If it sounds right to subject him in, you're going to use whom. These objects of the sentence, not always, but often have M's. Me, them, him, and whom. I don't end in M, because you can see me here. Forget that I said that, because I can see they all have M's here. So, the end objects sometimes end in M, them, him, and whom. Okay? All right. You can also do it with its and its. Let's say, it's a bad sentence. I keep thinking I'm going to correct it, but I did the dog lost its bone, and someone goes, dogs have gender. I was like, oh, okay. So I had to change it. I did it on the fly. The house broke its roof, or the house broke its roof. Check it. The house broke his roof. If that sounds right. The house broke his roof. That doesn't sound right. So his corresponds with its without an apostrophe, and he's corresponds with its with an apostrophe. So just check the his versus he's. Then you will be fine on the its versus its. So we're using that trick I talked to you about, when to trust your ear. So we can trust your ear with homophones, but we can trust your ear when they're not homophones. So we use a form of the pronouns that doesn't have homophones. And it doesn't work with her. We don't say sherm or herm, okay? So it only works with he. All right? Agreement.